This memorial for Edith Cavell was unveiled in 1920 to honor her bravery and sacrifices that she made during World War I. Cavell was a nurse in the First World War, which can already be seen as doing a great deal for Britain, yet she surpassed all expectations with her courage by helping some 200 Allied soldiers escape out of German-occupied Belgium, and when she was caught by the Germans, they arrested her, found her guilty of treason, and killed her by way of German firing squad. The monument exhibits an extreme form of propaganda with displaying a woman who died for Britain, and the piece displays the carvings like humanity for king and country, sacrifice, devotion, fortitude, and faithful until death. Author and historian Joe Fox, who wrote Woman in World War I Propaganda, explains how women served as reminders of the necessity of the fight for the men and soldiers, and this depiction of Edith Cavell definitely fits into that. Her statue reminds soldiers that they fought just like her, and because they protected many women, a woman like Cavell saved men's lives. This is a memorial for Florence Nightingale, and it was created in 1915, and it is to honor her for intelligence and patriotism to Britain. Nightingale entered the Crimean War as a nurse, but ended up doing a lot more than caring for the sick. She wanted vast, extensive relief for the soldiers, and that could be done by improving sanitary conditions. In pursuing this endeavor, Nightingale changed the outcome for many British soldiers, who at one point were dying mostly from sickness and not warfare. This side of the statue says, born May 12, 1820, and the other states her death, died August 13, 1910. I find this significant because in showing her lifespan, this memorial is not only to honor her wartime efforts, but her life as a whole. All her life, Nightingale worked to help our country and world, and she is a shining star to feminists everywhere, so it's fitting to honor her entire life. This piece of propaganda is from the Imperial War Museum, and it exhibits the need for working women during World War I. This ad is stating that men's lives depend on women working in munition factories, and begging women to join the war effort. Author and historian John V. Dipple wrote Avenging the Primal Wound, and it connects beautifully to this artifact because of the positioning of the ad and the message behind it. This ad shows a woman positioned in front of the soldier, almost showing her dominance over him, and it states that men's lives depend on the woman, which the soldiers despise. Dipple explains how men were upset women were doing a man's job, and that they were threatened that they would have to fight to get their jobs back after the war. And this ad only feeds into that anxiety, with the woman positioned in front of the man showing that she is of more importance and strength, almost taking on a masculine position. Also, Dipple explains how men feared women working in factories would become sexually liberated, and this ad once again only adds to that fear because it's beckoning women to work in the factories, and the woman at the forefront looks confident, savvy, and strong. Continuing on the topic of women taking on normally masculine roles during World War I, this image from the Imperial War Museum shows a group of women working in a munitions factory, joining together and playing on a football team. Men probably thought this was outrageous, but professor and historian Janet Lee, who wrote Sisterhood at the Front, would find this very normal. Lee explains in her writing that women who worked during World War I were able to unite and stick together by making great friendships with the women surrounding them so that they could get through the hardships of war. This picture showing a women's football team only gives more truth to this statement, because the women who worked every day in the factories for the war effort still wanted to see each other after work to blow off some steam. So, World War I facilitated great comradeship among women. To picture women working in the munition factories, the Imperial War Museum had the book Munition Mary on display. The cover of the book shows a female munition worker who appears to be talking to a policeman of sorts, and she is in fact taller than the man, once again showing a more dominant position for the woman. The Imperial War Museum allows viewers the opportunity to see what the working women of World War I actually would wear at the time, as shown within this image. The outfits were donned by Women's Auxiliary Army Corps, the Women's Royal Naval Service, and the Women's Land Army. Just from knowing who wore these uniforms tells us that women had a great role within the war effort. This last image brings me to the end of my research, and I think it's fitting with the simple promise of good work, good wages, and good women. Without the experiential aspect of the past few weeks for research, I don't think I would have found half of the information I did, or have made comparisons and connections between so many different things. Without the face-to-face component that the Imperial War Museum gave me, I wouldn't have seen all the propaganda in person, or the uniforms donned by the women, or the pictures of comradeship. Thus, my project would have been duller and less vibrant than I would have wanted.